All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to our third Wednesday of the monthly webinar. I'm Autumn. I am the Senior Manager of Member Education. I'm really excited to be here. I love doing these. I do them every month. We've got some really cool things for tonight. We've got a deck for you. We're gonna do a little bit more in-depth look at a few things. And joining me is the lovely Haley. She is a Senior Dosage Specialist with us. Say hi, Haley.
Hey, how's it going?
Haley is just one of our top dosage specialists. She's so great. She works a lot with cannabis in general, so just a lot of general cannabis education as well as CBD education. So I'm really excited to have her here tonight. And we also have Amanda. Amanda's with us here as well. She is the Senior Manager of Digital Marketing with Equilibria. Would you like to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited that you're here this evening. And I just wanted to give some quick updates on how this is going to work tonight. So for the first few minutes, Haley and about a half an hour, Haley and Autumn are going to give this awesome presentation just kind of about why CBD, and then we're going to be taking questions. You are welcome to ask questions throughout in the Q&A button that's at the bottom of your screen. Please don't use the chat because it's more difficult for us to answer you later. Use that Q&A function. We will get to your questions. If not in the presentation itself, then after the presentation is over, we'll be answering those questions with the team here. Thanks so much, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. As she said, we are going to be working our way through a deck tonight. We're going to be talking about some items that are a little bit more in depth. But really the idea behind tonight's webinar is to really answer the question, why is CBD right for you? You know, how can it benefit you? How can it be beneficial for so many different people in so many different ways? So we want to answer those questions and any other questions that may come up as we go. I'm really looking forward to this. So let's get started here. I say let's get started and then. So essentially, why take CBD and why take CBD from Equilibria, right? I would say that there are three main points that really do separate Equilibria out from other companies. Essentially, what really makes us different, we educate. Education is one of our core values. We educate our staff, our dosage team, we educate our members. It is one of our core values. So in the spirit of education, we're actually going to spend tonight educating you a little bit more in depth about, what is CBD? What is it doing in our body? Why does it function with our body? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about quality of CBD products. The quality of CBD products ranges so much. So we'll talk about why that is. And why Equilibria has such high quality CBD. And we're also going to talk about dosage support. Dosage support is one of the things that separates our company from almost every other company. You have individualized, personal CBD dosage support from the beginning all the way through your journey. We are here for you every single step of the way. So we're going to talk about all three of those things and how it relates to you and your personal journey with CBD. So first things first, what is CBD? What is this thing? And why are we just now hearing about it? So we're going to read straight from this one. I promise this is the only time I'll do this. But CBD is a naturally occurring compound derived from the flowers of the cannabis plant. It's known as a phytocannabinoid, or a plant-based molecule that actually provides our bodies, that actually helps our bodies provide balance. And literally, we're talking about homeostasis here. So in our bodies, we all have what is called an endocannabinoid system. Cannabinoid, that's the second time we've heard that word. It almost sounds like cannabis, right? So this system, this endocannabinoid system, first of all, this is all very new science. We actually discovered the endocannabinoid system in the 90s. So while this is new science, this is what we do know. The endocannabinoid system is essentially a network of receptors found all throughout your body. The ECS is what we're going to call it for short from now on. The ECS is a network of receptors that touch almost every single system of your body. And its purpose is to regulate and bring balance to your entire body by keeping all of these other systems in balance. So what does the ECS relate to? Like, what does the ECS oversee? What is its function here? The ECS is to your immune system. You can read it right here. Immune system, it's connected to your liver, your bones, spleen, colon, pancreas, skin, your brain, spinal cord, reproductive system, retina, heart, lung, skin, all of these different parts of your body, this endocannabinoid system is connected to, which means that the ECS is regulating those systems. So it's kind of in charge of making sure your sleep, your circadian rhythms on track, your digestive system, your immune system, your reproductive system, your cycle, all of that is affected by the ECS. So what is this ECS? What does it do? The ECS, it regulates each one of these systems to keep you at homeostasis. How does it do that? Basically, whenever your body gets stressed out, you release all of these stress hormones. Your F levels skyrocket, your cortisol, your adrenaline, and then the endocannabinoid system, its job is to help regulate those stressful moments along with other things. The ECS does a lot, but we're going to talk about how it basically helps to regulate your body's stress hormones, calm that down so that you can continue functioning. And I have a really good visual, and then I'm going to let Haley speak to anything if she'd like to hop in here. But here's a really good visual for like, when does your ECS function? Let's say you're driving a car and all of a sudden something jumps in front of your car and you have to slam on your brakes right then and there. In that moment, when you slam on your brakes, your hands are gripping the steering wheel, your eyes get really big, your heart's racing, all of those things happen. Your vagus nerve has shut off your fight or flight sensation. All of those things are happening to help keep you alive. But at a certain point, we have to stop releasing adrenaline. We have to stop releasing that cortisol at some point. So at the same moment when you slam on your brakes and all of those fight or flight sensations take off, at the same time, your ECS is activated and your ECS releases all of these molecules. They're called anandamide. They're called your bliss and happiness and joy molecules. Your ECS releases all of these molecules to help calm down and control the amount of FAAH levels that you're releasing, so that whenever you're driving a car and you slam on your brakes, you can calm down and continue driving. So with that said, how does CBD fit into this, right? Well, this is the endocannabinoid system. That molecule that gets released, that anandamide, that is an endocannabinoid. It's a molecule made from your own body, endogenous to your body. And CBD is a phytocannabinoid, a plant-based molecule. They mimic each other. You can give CBD to your body and your body won't really know the difference. It just thinks you're giving it more bliss, more joy, more happiness molecules, basically, to help you combat that stress, along with many other functions. So with that said, that's really where CBD comes in. If you think about the year 2020, just as an example, the amount of stress that we were all under for over a year now, on top of all of the personal struggles, all of the work struggles, all of the marriage struggles, all of the friendship struggles, on top of everything else. I mean, that's a lot of anandamide that we're asking our body to release. That's a lot of bliss molecules that we're exuding to help keep us calm. And at a certain point, a lot of us just find ourselves to be perhaps depleted. At a certain point, we just can't keep up with the amount of stress that life is throwing at us. So again, that's where CBD really comes in, and it helps to kind of augment and helps to almost fill our stores a little bit so that our body can start functioning again the way it's supposed to. I've been a little long-winded on this. I could talk about this for days, but Haley, I want to give you an opportunity. Is there anything you want to throw in there or kind of weave into this?
Yeah, actually, you did such a great job of like clearly outlining this. I know for a lot of people, like the endocannabinoid system is such a long word that you might like brush over it or whatever, but it's just wild to think that it manages so many things. You know, like it's wild to think that, wow, there's this master system doing all of this. So if that master system's out of whack, you know, as it goes, the rest would be out of balance. So one thing I wanted to bring up that I think is kind of neat about it, about the endocannabinoid system, is that all mammals have this. So you may have seen like, people giving CBD to their dog and their cat, and then you as a human are taking it. And so it's because we all have this endocannabinoid system and we share this like network of receptors. And so I just think that's really neat that we are like, you can use the same kind of thought process for even animals, like we're all dealing with stress and various levels of it.
Yeah, well, it evolved over time, if you think about it from way back in the day, you think about uh, hunter-gatherer situation, and then all of a sudden,
Yes.
you're out there hunting and gathering, and all of a sudden you come face to face with a saber-toothed tiger. In that moment, your body has to develop something to not only pump your adrenaline and keep you alive so you can run away, but also help restore balance to you afterwards. So, it's
Yeah.
been around for a long, long time. Isn't it true that insects are the only creature on Earth that doesn't have an ECS?
That's what I've heard as well. Yeah. And I think like it's so interesting too. Like, of course, it came from like our way back in the day with hunter gatherers. Like, we have little bursts of stress back then. Like, we have to quickly run away from something or deal with something that comes up. But like nowadays, we don't have just random spurts of stress. It's like you wake up and all day it's just a barrage of different types of stress. So there's no more timely thing, than now to talk about CBD, talk about your endocannabinoid system, because this is like a different era we're in where there's no end to the stress. So we almost need a little help from our endocannabinoid system to be like, now's the time to relax. Now let's not be in fight or flight mode. So it's just really beautiful that it does all this stuff for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. And to that point, we do have some members who, some of our members that have higher CBD doses. We'll talk about dosing after a while, but some of our members with higher CBD doses, with maybe an autoimmune disorder or something a little bit more severe. It's possible that we'll start them with a higher dose. They'll work themselves up to a higher dosage, but after a long period of time, they may actually need a lower dose of CBD because their body is kind of caught up with the amount of anandamide that it needs to function properly. So you might actually not need as much CBD as you go on. You don't actually build a tolerance to CBD. It's quite the opposite. It's almost called reverse tolerance, where you need less as you go.
Isn't that nice? That's a nice little thing.
Nice to look forward to, the day when
Yeah.
I don't need this as much.
Or maybe quite as strong of a dose, or you can always reassess as you go. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? We do believe in daily and consistent use because, ultimately what we're doing here is we're supporting a system that supports your entire body. So can you imagine? This is another reason why CBD works best over time. It builds up in your body. The first week that you take CBD, there are absolutely really cool things happening on a molecular level. But your third, your fourth, your seventh, your eighth week with CBD is going to look a lot different than your first, your second week. And part of that has to do with natural anti-inflammatory properties, taking care of your body in a different way with CBD here. I want to touch on terpenes. We're not going to talk about this for too awful long, but we've talked about, the cannabinoids that are found in the beautiful flower of the plant. There are over 500 different chemical compounds in the hemp or cannabis plant. So out of all 500 or more, there's all sorts of different styles of molecule. We've talked about cannabinoids, but terpenes are definitely worth mentioning too. Terpenes are the essential oils of CBD. It's what gives oil its smell, its taste, and all sorts of things have terpenes in it. Anything that has a smell or a taste has a terpene in it if it's a natural product. So, pine, cloves, citrus, mint, ginger, these are really great examples right here. They all are made up of terpenes, and hemp and marijuana have terpenes. So what makes terpenes important? They help the general product work better. The more terpenes there are in a product, the better it's going to absorb in your body. So you always want to have a nice high count of terpenes too, or a company that even considers terpenes. Consider terpenes when you're talking about a therapeutic product. And at Equilibria, our products contain like 3 to 5 times more terpenes than the average bottle. Haley, you like terpenes. You've got some
Yes.
terpene knowledge.
I love this because it's a word that you don't hear much. Like, you don't hear people just throw around the word terpene here and there, but it's basically, like you said, the essential oils. And one thing I think is so interesting is that it's a big market of research right now. Like, there are terpene scientists out there, and like for example, in the craft beer industry, there's a lot of terpene scientists because they're trying to amplify the effects of the alcohol or make the experience go in a certain way for you. So maybe by tailoring it with certain effects, like pine, flavor scent could make it feel different than if you had a citrus scent or taste to it. So it goes like, with our product, we want those terpenes because it amplifies everything else in the formula. So really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and something else that I thought was really interesting, I wanted to throw in here before we move on. A lot of folks who are here tonight, who are watching this recording, if you've used our product before and you've ever thought to yourself, wow, whenever I take that CBD oil, it kind of makes me cough a little bit. I'm coughing a little bit. That actually might be a terpene sensitivity, because one of the main terpenes in our product is the same terpene found in black peppercorn. Whenever you have black peppercorn, like on a salad or something, you take a big bite of it and all of a sudden you're like, that same terpene, it's called beta caryophyllene, one of my faves. It's actually very, very present in our product. So if you ever feel that sensation, take a sip of water afterwards. It's not, anything to worry too much about. You just might be a little sensitive to terpenes. Sometimes people who get that coffee sensation also dislike hoppy beer, because hoppy beer has a ton of terpenes in it.
That's so interesting, man. That's so neat. And I mean, the reason it's in our product is because it does so much. So, don't be alarmed by that like sensitivity if you do have that, but the specifically beta caryophyllene is so helpful for your stomach and inflammation and all kinds of things. So it's like an important piece, but don't be alarmed if you get a little tickly like that.
Yep.
Very,
Just a
very
piece
normal.
of the puzzle there. Yep.
Yeah.
So we've talked about these 500 different chemical compounds that can be found in cannabis. So what's the difference between hemp and THC containing cannabis, generally known as marijuana? So what's really the difference there? It's kind of an arbitrary line in the sand, is what we call it. Essentially, some lawmakers got together in a room without any scientists or researchers and said, how much how much THC needs to be in this plant for it to be considered illegal? And they just out of thin air pulled 0.3%. Okay, so that is law. That is the 2018 Farm Bill. And that's why we have just recently started hearing about CBD, is because it's only recently been legalized in this way for us to be able to sell freely. So if a plant has less than 0.3% THC, that technically makes it hemp. If a plant has more than 0.3% THC, that technically makes it THC containing cannabis or marijuana. So why is that kind of arbitrary? Basically, because if you were to take a cannabis product to get high, you would need to have over 10% of that product contain THC. For context, our products, our regular strength products, only have about 0.04% THC. That is such a low number, and it's not nearly enough to get you high. You could drink a whole bottle, please don't, but you could drink a whole bottle of our CBD at once and it wouldn't get you high. So with that in mind, I'm going to talk a little bit about, well, actually, you know what? I think Haley, didn't you want to talk just a little bit about like what hemp is grown for right now and why you need to be careful with the CBD you purchase?
Yes. So really, like, hemp's origins were from like making rope, making paper, making things that we're not ingesting, right? It was more like utilitarian. So now that it's available to be sold online, like our business model, it's important that if you're ingesting this, you want to make sure it's organic, because hemp is a natural soil cleaner. So if you're planting it, like, for example, they planted it in Chernobyl after the explosion, and so there's all these chemicals they're trying to clean up. They plant this hemp to try to get it all cleaned up. You want to make sure that if you're ingesting it, it's the companies talking about it being organic. So that's just kind of like a shift from, it's no longer just like paper, things like that. This is really important to have high quality premium products that you can trace back to the farm. Super important.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about the farm here in just a sec. So moving on here, the different types of CBD, because I'm sure if you're here with us tonight, you have probably looked up more than one company for CBD. So let's talk about, like, what are the different kinds of CBD out there? What do you need to be looking for? What do you need to avoid? So there are, in general, 3 different categories of CBD products. You've got your isolate, you've got your broad spectrum, and your full spectrum. What does that mean? Well, isolate is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It is singularly CBD all by itself. We've mentioned earlier that the cannabis plant has over 500 different chemical compounds, not just cannabinoids, but like flavonoids and terpenes and all sorts of other compounds. So CBD isolate is literally just CBD. And here's the thing, CBD, cannabis in general, these molecules, they work better in groups. They don't do so hot on their own. They're not as effective by themselves. So if you have a CBD product that is isolate, you're probably going to see it with like 2,500 milligrams, 3,000 milligrams. And it's like, wow, I'm getting so much for my money. 3,000 milligrams and it's only $20. It's actually not what you want to look for. It's at such a high milligram because you need a lot more of that cannabinoid before you're going to get benefits. And if they're selling it for cheap, you've got to ask yourself why. Because CBD is an unregulated market, you do not want to skimp on your CBD. You want to make sure that you're paying for quality product. It's worth it in the long run. So broad spectrum. We'll see broad spectrum maybe a little bit less often than the other 2 we're talking about, but broad spectrum is basically where it's CBD and CBG, CBN, CBC, CBDA. We've got some right here. There's so many different cannabinoids, but there's no THC, no THC present. Now, I want to caution everybody because everyone's thinking right now, oh, there's no THC in isolate and there's no THC in broad. Cool. That means that I would not test positive on a drug test. I caution everyone, anyone taking CBD, it is always possible to pop positive on a drug test. It's very rare, but it's possible, not because of the product necessarily, but sometimes because of the tests themselves. Sometimes the actual drug test is a little outdated and it can't tell the difference between cannabinoids. It can't tell if it's CBD or THC. It just knows it's cannabis. So it'll pop positive. So you've just got to be really careful. If you have questions, let us know about that. But sometimes it's better to ask for a blood test and, kind of claiming with your employer that you do take CBD. We've got some options for you, but just be aware that it is possible, although it's rare. So what does that leave us with? Full spectrum, which is what Equilibria has, because full spectrum CBD that includes even a tiny amount of THC tends to be more effective because it induces what's called the entourage, the ensemble effect, where basically THC is kind of bossy and THC kind of helps the other cannabinoids know what to do in the body. I have a pretty good analogy for this, but imagine there's a soccer team and they're playing against another team. A full spectrum product is the whole team, a goalie, and a coach. Think of THC as the coach, kind of telling everyone what to do and where to go, communicating, helping it be more effective. A broad spectrum product only has the players on the field and the goalie. They don't have a coach. They don't have anyone really helping them or instruct them, tell them what to do or where to go. So they might do okay. They might win, but it's not going to be the same as if they had someone there helping to guide them, which is the THC. And then we've got just isolate, which is the goalie all by themselves, alone on the field. They might be able to do a little defense, but there's no way they're going to win. I don't know if they'll even score a goal at that point. So, when you think about CBD, what kind of product do you want? You really want to aim for a full spectrum product, especially one that has a really great farm, organic practices, all that good stuff. So we talked just a moment ago about the entourage effect. I'll leave this up here for just a moment. But again, that's whenever you include THC into the mix. And THC, again, it really helps to amplify the properties of all of those other chemical compounds. So any amount of even a tiny bit of THC is really going to help make your entire product work better.
And those terpenes too, like adding those into the mix, it's just beefing it up. It's helping it all work better. So that's why you'll see like a lot of people on Equilibria products are taking maybe smaller milligrams than of some other company that maybe is a way larger seemingly dose, because ours is able to work more with less, right? Like able to maximize that and help you get an effect with a small amount. So that's kind of a unique thing about Equilibria.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you for throwing that in there, Haley.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty here. Why Equilibria in particular? I feel like we've talked about a few of these points, but Haley, I want you to kind of talk a little bit more about our partner farm. I know that that's a big passion of yours, but take it away.
Yeah, so Equilibria is partnered with a farm in Boulder, Colorado, and that's the place that we source all the CBD from. And that's really, really important because we want it to feel like farm to home, like just like a farm to table dinner, you know, where you can clearly see where this came from. They're proud of it. They want you to enjoy it. And then you get to enjoy it when it gets to your house. So exact same, yeah, experiencing that and like really feeling like connected to that growing practice. So that's something we value a lot. And one thing that we do that's different than others is that we are an organic practice or an organic farm. So like we mentioned before, if you're having CBD planted in soil, you want to make sure that that soil is not full of like contaminants like heavy metal, lead, pesticides, just all kinds of things. You want to make sure that it's in organic soil, that there are people monitoring this. And that's where we really hit it out of the park because we have a team of bioscientists that are doing this work for us. So they're monitoring things like the soil pH. They're monitoring things like the water, making sure it's pure, even things like getting the right bugs to help, you know, help the plants along. Like all of that's a big piece here. You don't want to just be planting this outside and be like, all right, we'll check on this in a few months. This is something we want to daily monitor and make sure it's going the right way. So we have these bioscientists that are monitoring that for us. The other thing is we do in-house testing throughout that process. So we're testing along the way, not just at the end, to see like, is this producing the cannabinoid profile we want? Is there the terpene level that we want? So all of this is something we thoughtfully consider, and it's part of why our product is so much better than others on the market. So really passionate about this just because I have worked on a CBD farm before, and I will tell you that they are not all this way and they're not all this transparent. So like, it's really important to me that the company is so honest and so open about this. I'm always been impressed by that from day one. So big part of our story here.
And the way that we harvest too, right?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't get into like the way it's harvested, which is kind of hitting on this last point. So traditional practice in the cannabis and CBD space is to cut the whole plant down, you know, from the stalk and then use all of that in the formula for the CBD oil. But at our farm, what we do is we hand pick just the flower. So the top part of the cannabis plant and the CBD plant is very full of cannabinoids. That's where all the good stuff lives. And it just takes a lot of time. So most companies don't hand trim. They don't pick that best part. They're just like, go for it. We'll do the whole
you
plant.
Just hack down the whole thing, stalk, stem, root, seeds, throw the whole thing in a machine. That's where you're going to hear the term whole plant CBD. That is a marketing ploy. That is not what you want to look for, not at all. The whole plant means they just ripped the whole thing out of the ground, threw it into the processing. It's going to water it down. You don't get any therapeutic benefits from those pieces of the plant. If anything, that's where if something like a metal or toxin or pesticide, if something like that made it into your soil, the stalk and stem, that's what soaks it up. That's where that's going to be.
That's a good point. It sounds good though, doesn't it? Like sound like, oh, whole plant. But yeah, we want to tell you the inside scoop, which is you don't want it to say whole plant. You want it flower. Flowers where that really potent part lives. So we also go to extreme care to preserve the cannabinoids and terpenes in that flower part. So we may have touched on this a little bit, but with CBD making the oil, it's so tricky because when you're making the extraction and, you know, putting it into an oil, a lot of times companies will use processes that are very heat rich, or the heat will like scorch the plant. And it's kind of similar to cold pressed juice, right? Like the idea there is that you want to preserve all those nutrients. So it's like literally just going right to your body and you're doing a cold process to extract it that way. And same kind of thing here with CBD. Like we don't want to remove any of those beneficial things we just hand trimmed, right? Like we spend all that time doing that. We want to make sure it preserves it all the way to the end when it's like to your house. So that's something that the scientists at our farm are so careful. And we use a process with a CO2 extraction, which is the industry standard. So that's really important to us. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. I think that covers a lot. And, if you have any more questions for us about that, feel free to rattle them off. But we've also got a really great section on this in the Q&A section of our website too. Awesome. Thank you, Haley. Okay, so we're moving on to another phase of the discussion. We're going to talk a little bit more about the dosage support that we offer here at Equilibria. We are one of the only companies that not only provides education and an incredibly high quality product, but we also have guidance for you every single step of the way. You are not alone in this. We have on staff clinical pharmacists. We have dosage team that's like just brilliant, throwing that out there. Just work with so many amazing women. Every single person who purchases from us gets a free phone call, a free phone consultation. You'll schedule it yourself or whenever works best for you. And we've got folks on standby to answer your questions, and unlimited email support. If you're not someone who likes to hop on the phone, if you prefer dosage via email, we're happy to help. It takes a little bit longer than the 30-minute phone call, but we're happy to help via email. If you're on our chat Monday through Friday in the mornings, we do some we'll extend that very soon, but anything that we can do to help out, we're here for you. So, who is on the dosage team? Cannabis consultants. We've got we've got backgrounds in health and wellness, clinical psychology, biomedical engineering, pharmacology, clinical education. Lots of really, really amazing women, like I said, who are all cannabis educators. We are not doctors. We are not physicians. It is always incredibly important for you to keep your entire wellness team in the loop, including your doctor that you're taking CBD. But we're here for you in any other way that we can as far as educating you. Oh, and we have pharmacy support, which is also another really great addition. If you have medications and you'd like further education about how CBD could potentially interact with those medications, let us know. We can connect you with the pharmacist. We can have that conversation. A lot of people do use their medications and CBD in tandem. It happens. So feel free to let us know. If you have questions, reach out.
I love that we offer that. It's just so important. I said, I love that we offer that. It's just something that's on so many people's mind anyway. So I love that there's like someone to help, like pharmacy wise, someone to help like experience. We've talked to thousands of people. So we know some things that may help, some tips and tricks along the way. So that's, to me, the dosage support is what also makes Equilibria so special, is that we do this. I love it.
Absolutely. And we all learn so much all the time. Yeah, Amanda.
I just want to add that our dosage support team are not salespeople, and I am sure Autumn mentioned that, but they're not working on commissions. I'll let you speak to that a little more too.
No, thank you for mentioning that. I would have forgotten. So thank you. Yep, not commissioned. We're not salespeople. When you hop on a call with us, our goal is to help you find the products that will work best for you and to help you kind of dial in a routine for yourself. A lot of it's, kind of a lot of self-evaluation, when are the most stressful points of my day? What do I need? And kind of talking that through with someone. It's so incredibly helpful. So we're here to kind of help you with that too. And Amanda, I might have you speak about this next little bit too, as well. Equilibria, we give back. Amanda, would you like to speak to this?
Be happy to. One of our current missions and our projects is working with Black Girl Ventures. They are a company that supports Black and Brown women identifying business founders to get financial support. And so currently we have a pitch competition where we had 8 different founders pitch, like Shark Tank style, to a group of investors. And so they did their pitches. Those are currently available to view. You can find the link on our Instagram stories currently. And you're able to vote with your dollars to support these Black and Brown founders. And then also we as a company are giving $50,000 towards Black Girl Ventures to support the winners of the competition and the work that Black Girl Ventures is doing. And we're really, this has been an ongoing endeavor over the past 9 months or so. So really excited to see the competition. Voting ends on the 20th. So in just a few days.
Oh man, that's tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow. That ends tomorrow.
I was like, exciting. I know today's the 19th. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Amanda. And, kind of looping back into that whole education piece, we do these webinars, we hop on IG lives. The whole purpose of those is to empower our members with education. Ultimately, we want you to not need the Dosage team, as sad as that makes me to say, but really we want you to feel so robustly educated that you know when to increase your dose, you know when you do need to hop on with a specialist, you know what products might be better for you than the other. So we are working on, you know, kind of building that library of education more and more every day. I see Haley nodding, so I'm like, do you want to throw anything in there?
It's just something no one else offers, and I think needs to be like underscored so much, is that this is, you know, the fact that we will get on these calls and they're not commission calls. It's just to help you. It's like your personal friend. You don't need to be frantically Googling things in the middle of the night. You know, that's where one of my friends said that. She's like, wow, I normally have to look all this up and it's so hard to know like what to trust, what's real, what's outdated, you know, all these things. So that's where we've taken a lot of that heavy lifting out. It makes me excited that we offer this and can talk to people about what we're so excited about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So we're going to do a quick rundown of our products. I feel like a lot of folks who are here on this call maybe have a general understanding of how these work, but we're going to do just a quick little run through of these, and then we'll have some time for a couple Q&As. Initially, I'm just going to reinforce this. I'm going to hand this over to Haley here, but just to initially, or to get us started here, we truly do believe that CBD does work best when taken consistently over time. It needs to build up a little bit. We talked a little bit about, you know, the ECS and its function. Can you imagine supporting your ECS in that way, purposefully, intentionally, every day for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months? I mean, that's really why we start to see the best results after that 90-day mark. Of course, we want to see some benefits. And of course, we want to start seeing that needle, you know, in the first 1 to 3 weeks, the first month, 2 months. But again, best results do tend to happen, you know, around that 2-3 month mark when you're kind of hitting your stride.
Oh yeah, slow and steady. That's the best way to start. And I was gonna say one thing that I in my own journey, it took a couple weeks to really see that CBD was working, like for sure. Like you almost, it's, we mentioned this before, but it's almost things you're not doing that, you know, oh, this is working for me. And for me, I was in Chicago on a business trip and left my laptop in a taxi, and I like closed the door and all my stuff was in there. And I remember I just like stepped off of, I think I was on like a really busy street. I just remember, and I just like called all the places to get this laptop back. I got to work and did some things. And on the train ride home, I thought later that night, like, wow, I was really calm and just did all the things and it went pretty well. And like normally something like that going wrong would really get me off my game, or like make me so flustered that I couldn't like go to my next meeting, or, you know, the day would kind of like take a weird turn because of that. So that's just like a quick example where I was like, okay, this CBD really is doing a lot here.
Yeah, I had something similar happen to me. I've told this story, Amanda's heard it, but I had, you know, my aha moment was kind of the same thing in an emergency. And, you know, it was a literal 911 situation. Called 911, did what I was supposed to do, called the people I was supposed to call, handled it. And I just handled it. I didn't get overly emotional, you know. I wasn't like numb or anything, but I just handled it. I was cool as a cucumber, and it was over. And I didn't ever have that huge spike, that huge panic moment. So, and for me, it was like 2 months in. It actually took a little bit longer for me just because I had some more severe issues. So the more severe the issue, the more severe the need, the longer it may take. But again, we want to start seeing that needle move in the first couple, 2-3 weeks. So please hop on the phone with a dosage specialist if you're not starting to see benefits in the first week or so.
Love that. I didn't know that story about you, Autumn. That's quite a situation.
Learn something new every day.
That's a very stressful moment, I'd say. So yeah, we wanted to go over, a lot of you are probably really familiar with some of our core products, but first one we want to talk about is our daily drops. So the way that this is used is you place it under your tongue. You're going to hold it there for about 60 seconds or longer. I like to put mine in and then try to like push it against the sides of my cheeks, kind of use my tongue to like, you know, push it around. And there's a thought behind this. We are wanting the CBD to sink in from the glands in your mouth, like under your tongue, especially. So that's the thought, is it's almost like a topical for your mouth, you know? So think of it that way, is like the longer you can hold it in there and really get it to absorb, you're really getting the most bang for your buck. That's the way to do it. So you may see people, you know, on Instagram or other places that are taking CBD just in the back of their throat and swallowing it. You can do that, but really the way to get the most is by sublingual absorption. So keep that in mind. Effects are kicking in 10 to 30 minutes, lasting about 4 to 6 hours. So for me, these are more of I need something like quick. I need a quick acting product. I need to, get out the door for a meeting or do something. This is what I'm going to go for because it'll kick in so quickly and doesn't need food, can be used anytime. So that's something a lot of people start with, and really good thing to start with because you can kind of titrate exactly the amount you need. Like, okay, if a full dropper is way too much, no big deal. I can reduce that or talk with a dosage specialist so you can really hone in the exact amount that works.
Awesome.
Next up, daily soft gels, another thing I take every day. So the use case for this would be more for that slow, subtle release of CBD. So you'll see the onset here is different. It's not kicking in quick. It's more of a slow start. It takes about 1 to 3 hours to get going, depending on your metabolism. And then it will slowly release CBD for 6 to 8 hours. So in my day, I often will try to figure out like, where's the biggest chunk of stress? Is it right when I get up to, in the afternoon? Is it more later in the day? Or some people even take them at night, like at dinner. So that way it's releasing all night long. So kind of just figure out where you want that slow, steady drip. But it does need to be taken alongside a meal or snack. So that's the thing to remember there. And specifically, if it can be something with fat, lots of studies show CBD soft gels like this will absorb best alongside fat. So I take it with cashews, almonds, something like that, just to give it enough for the CBD to bind to it and really last a long time.
Yeah. Awesome. I think of just like you, I think about the drops as like my fast acting tool for like, we need it a little bit more prominently. I need, I'm getting ready to hop on a Zoom meeting. I need to like chill out a little bit. And then I think about the soft gels as preventative.
Oh,
because
yes.
they take a couple hours before they even kick in, and then they're kind of subtle in comparison to the drops. But a lot of people say, I took the soft gels for 2 weeks. I couldn't really notice a difference. So I stopped. And then I noticed the difference. I could tell that I needed those soft gels. So they're subtle, but, they definitely have their place, especially for folks that have, issues with inflammation because of that slow, steady drip in your system. It can be really helpful for like a little bit longer release and maybe a little bit more help for that.
I love them. They're great. They're both like something I really need, but they serve different purposes, So it's important to know like why would I take both? But they have different scenarios where they work best.
And some people use them both in tandem every day. It's the same CBD, it's the same oil, one crop, one farm. It's the same stuff, but it's going to behave differently based on how and where it gets absorbed. So same stuff, but you're always welcome to use them in tandem. And just for some context for folks, the average daily minimum of CBD our members take is about 20 milligrams. That's going to change company to company, CBD to CBD. I cannot speak for any other company's CBD products, but for Equilibria, our general average is about 20 milligrams a day. So with the soft gels, the regular strength here, one soft 10 milligrams. The regular strength drops, one full 10 milligrams. So some people either take 2 full droppers a day, 2 soft gels a day, or maybe one of each.
That's a good call out. Actually, one thing that came into the chat we can talk about now is someone asked the soft gels for nighttime, like would it still be effective the next day? Like if you're taking it at night, thoughts on that? And really, I take mine at night and I notice it sets me up for a better morning. So like it's working all night. So the idea there is that you're falling asleep, staying asleep, getting really quality rest. Like that's one thing I didn't even realize how badly I slept till I had a very, very good night of sleep. And it's just like, oh, wow, people sleep like this. So in that way, you're getting rest. And then also, I just find I'm less reactive the next morning. Like the morning is not so frantic. It's not so like cortisol, releasing everywhere. So in that way, it can be helpful. Or lots of people will take it at night because they have some sort of inflammation issue. Like maybe they wake up with arthritis pretty bad in their hands in the morning. Or I used to just wake up every morning with a stomach ache from stress, just like that was like a pattern. So I noticed that I didn't have that when I had a soft gel the night before, with the idea, okay, that's doing a lot for me to prep for the next day. So can be helpful for that.
Totally. And, I'll have folks whenever I'm on a call with them, I'll have them like kind of walk me through their day. And some people will tell me, you know what, I wake up in the morning and before I open my eyes, I'm stressed and I'm going through my list. I'm like, that's me. And then some other people say, you know what, my stress builds. I have a really productive morning, but my stress
Right.
builds up throughout the day. And in the afternoon and the evening, that's when I get stressed out. So if the afternoon and evening is your problem, take your soft gel at lunch. So that at
Exactly.
lunchtime, give it a couple hours, then it's releasing from like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 into the evening, you know, to help with that slow wind down. If you have trouble with sleeping overnight, here's where the timing gets a little tricky with soft gels. You want to make sure that you don't take the soft gel too close to bedtime, because if you take it at bedtime, it's not going to kick in for a couple hours, maybe 1 or 2 hours. And then once you're asleep, it starts to kick in and then releases for like 6 to 8 hours. So
Yeah.
if you wake up groggy, the trick is to take the time a little bit, scooch the time you take your soft gel to a little earlier. Full sentences. Okay. So we're going to keep on moving on so we can get to a couple of these questions. The relief balm. I love speaking to the relief balm. The relief balm is one of my favorite products that we have. You know, the drops and soft gels are really great for systemic relief. You know, we talked about inflammation. We talked about holistic changes in your reproductive system, you know, all of these big picture ideas. The relief balm is particularly good at targeted relief for like muscular aches and soreness, like right directly where you need it. You know, you can use it on your neck and shoulders at bedtime, which is what I do to help me kind of relax. And my lower back, I find that I wake up in the morning with a sore lower back. So the night before, I will put relief on my lower back, on my feet after a long day. In fact, I used it on my arm before I got my vaccine shot, and then after, and like for the next couple of days. And oh, game changer.
So many ways to use it. Love it.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that? We can keep rolling. We're almost done here.
I think that, you covered lots of thoughts there. I guess on menstrual cramps too, you know, people using it on their stomach, and kind of hard to like figure, at least for me, how does that work? How does that even reach the area that it needs to? But we've got CBD receptors all along the outside of our skin. So it's working with that action and reducing inflammation, pain, things like that. So works in a lot of ways, but mostly from interacting with those receptors.
Well, and it's shea butter based. There's no wax in the formula. So it's going to soak really deeply into your muscles and tissues and kind of deliver that CBD into your ECS through your skin. So this is a really incredible formula. I think they went through like 49 different formulas before releasing it. They were very obsessed with quality. We are. And then the last thing I'll say about the relief balm, we'll wrap up here, is that you can use as much or as little relief balm as you want in a day. It doesn't count towards your dosage. We know that it absorbs into your bloodstream, but it's so minimal that, again, it doesn't count towards your dose. It enters your body in a different way. So take it or leave it. Use it when you need it. Set it down when you don't, but use it on your neck and shoulders before bed. It's awesome. Okay, so wrapping it up here. We are here for you as a company, as a Dosage team, whatever you need. If you have questions for us, there's an email right there for you, dosage@myeq.com. Any question at all, let us know. We'll direct it to the person it needs to go to, and we're available to help anytime. And that is that. I think it's time for Q&A if we've got a minute. I think we do.
We definitely have a minute. And if anyone has any questions that you'd like us to answer, put them in the Q&A box in the bottom. We do have 2. They are both related to medication. So I will be able to tackle those one by one. Pamela asks, can we take CBD while taking blood pressure and cholesterol medications? And Beth asks if there are any interactions with antidepressants.
Okay, great. Both fair questions. Here's the deal. I myself, I'm not a pharmacist. Haley isn't, and Amanda isn't. So we can't, on this particular call, we can't really speak to specific medication interactions, but we do have a staff of pharmacists who can help further educate you about those. What I will say is that there are some medications where CBD does interact, but the interaction is typically something that we can work with. I will say that it is really important for you to keep your doctor in the loop. We mentioned that earlier, but like if you're taking a bunch of different medications and you add CBD to the mix and things start to change, it's good to know what that variable is that you kind of added into the mix there. So sometimes CBD can amplify the properties of a medication, making it perhaps work even better, but it could also perhaps amplify the side effects as well. So just something to be very cautious of, something for you to keep your doctor in the loop. And again, if you want to email us at Dosage, we can direct your question to the appropriate person.
Great. Amelia just asked, any best practices or member experiences with pregnancy and CBD?
Fair question. And here is the perhaps unsatisfying answer is that truly we can't really speak to CBD in pregnancy or breastfeeding because there's just no research. There's just no research for us to fall back on. And we are incredibly science based and science focused. And there really isn't any science about that yet. There's a lot of ethical dilemma on doing research and experiments on pregnant women and fetuses. So with that in mind, there just isn't enough data out there for us to say one way or another. But here's what I will say. If you do decide with you and your doctor, your pediatrician, if you all decide that this is something that you want to do, if using CBD outweighs perhaps using medications that you'd prefer not to use, if you have that conversation and you want to work with us, we are happy to help out however we can. We don't really have I just had a baby, here is a dosage routine for me, because everyone's so unique. Your needs are going to be so much different than anyone else that we speak to. So we really are going to try and tailor your routine for you. So with that in mind, am I missing anything, Haley?
I don't think so. I think the one thing I would bring up is I brought this kind of thing up to my doctor, which is a really like kind of nerve-wracking thing to ask, but like doctors are nowadays very, very used to these questions. And I was like nervous that maybe I was the first one ever asking like, okay, is this a weird thing to ask? But no, they're like, this is so common that they'll at least have some advice or have some, guidance for you. So I think that's like the main thing is just be open and honest about what you're thinking about, what your plan kind of is, and talk to them. Be open and honest about what you're wanting because they're there for you too. So that's,
I love that.
Seems obvious.
One last little science bit to this and we'll move on. But, we talked about earlier the ECS and its function. Its job is to help keep us balanced. Women in particular, this is one of the reasons why our company focuses on women. Women in particular create their bliss molecules, their anandamide, their balancing molecules. For the most part, women create theirs in their womb area. So you can imagine 12 periods a year for 30 years, plus pregnancy, plus childbirth, plus postpartum, maybe multiple times. I mean, at that point, some people just find themselves to be very depleted after having a child and after finishing the process of breastfeeding. In fact, we give our babies so much anandamide, so much of that bliss molecule through our breast milk that it's actually anandamide that induces the suckling response in babies. That's how they know to suckle, is because of all of the endocannabinoids that we're giving them. We're literally giving away our bliss to our babies. So if you feel like that's something that you could use after you're done breastfeeding, or if that's something you and your doctor decide that is okay for you, let us know, because we might need to kind of fill your stores a little bit.
That's a good point.
Nina asks if she missed the first part of the meeting and wondering if it can be watched later. Yes, it is being broadcast right now at this very moment onto our Facebook page, which is Equilibria Women. So you can go back, you'll be able to see it there in the history on the page. It'll be on today's date. Also, we will be posting this on YouTube eventually after we get it cleaned up and edited just a little bit. So our YouTube channel is being populated with lots of our content in the next month or so. So please feel free to check us out there as well. All right, Beth asks about my favorite product, my favorite new product, which is the Rapid Calming Melts. Can I just say I am absolutely obsessed with this product. They kick in so quickly, and I have issues sometimes with waking up in the middle of the night. And so for me, I've been keeping them on my bedside table. And I know you can use your drops at that moment, but I have just been really appreciating those Rapid Calming Melts. They are not necessarily for everyday use, but I'll let Autumn and Haley, our amazing dosage specialists, speak to that. But I just had to speak to my personal experience, which has been absolutely amazing.
Haley's like,
right here.
right by me. Rapid Calming Melts are something that we've been working on for a long time, and we're so stoked to have in your hands now. We talked about how the drops, they're your fast acting tool, and your soft gel, that's your preventative tool. Your Rapid Calming Melt is your immediate tool right then and there, which we don't need all the time. You know, let's say you're in the middle of a Zoom meeting, you've already taken a full dropper before the Zoom meeting to help kind of calm your nerves, and you're feeling fine, meeting's going fine, and then all of a sudden the meeting goes off the rails and it takes maybe a not so good turn, negative turn, and all of a sudden in the middle of the meeting you're starting to like, oh gosh, this is not going well. In the middle of the meeting, you can take a rapid calming melt, pop it underneath your tongue, it looks like a mint, and it goes to work immediately. We have actually partnered with a biotech firm who has a patent pending on this mucosal binding technology, but we are the only CBD company that has this technology. And basically it's designed to bind with those little bumps, those little glands underneath your tongue to deliver that CBD directly into your bloodstream. Now, Amanda mentioned that these are not meant for daily and consistent use because they go to work real fast and they fade away real fast. For some people, they only last, they might only last like 3 hours, maybe even less, 3 to 6 hours if we're being a little generous there. But the idea is if you have a steady baseline CBD routine, those rapid calming melts, they're going to work even better if you have an existing baseline CBD routine. If you were to use those rapid calming melts the same way as the oils or the soft gels, you might have to take like 3 or 4 a day in order for it to compound in your body the correct way. So we really do encourage you to use the oil-based products to really absorb into your system for the more systemic relief and support, and then use those melts as needed. Anything else, Haley? Anything else that you want to add to that?
You covered that. I think of them as like my emergency boost, like everything else is like ticking along pretty good with drops and soft gels. I can manage most of it, but like on days where it's like a panic is setting in, a extreme stressor, my heart's fluttering for no reason, that's where I'm going to use that rapid calming melt instead. So you might laugh, but I literally have them on my desk for like, just in case, it's that helpful and that quick too. I can't get over how fast. That's the thing about them. So
well, and to Amanda's point, it might be easier if you wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You have the drops. If that's something you're more comfortable with and you enjoy the drops and they work well for you, go for it. If you want to try a rapid calming melt, it might be easier for you to do in the dark, frankly.
Right.
Just grab one and pop it under there. But, with the idea that they don't last very long, if you just need to, fall asleep in the middle of the night, they're not going to last too long. It's not the same as taking the soft gels.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Okay, Wendy asks, can you drink alcohol while on these? I'm assuming she just means a CBD routine. And can you take CBD/THC gummies occasionally while taking Equilibria?
Yeah, Haley, you want to tackle this one?
Yeah, sure. So, I'll speak to the THC gummies aspect of it because that's kind of where I'm from, is that line of consulting and work, but really you can use CBD and THC gummies together. It's going to amplify that entourage effect we talked about. So if you remember, we talked about how it amplifies. You want more than just one cannabinoid. They work best together. So I'm someone that uses THC gummies as well. And I find that adding CBD into the mix is nice for like a full experience, so you can definitely use it. I'm using them for sleep. So it's something that can be used. Often it will tone down a little bit of the feeling of THC. So it's not so intense. So it doesn't get rid of the feeling, but will change the quality of it. So that's a little bit about the THC portion of the question, but wanted to talk too about alcohol. Like what's a good guideline there? I often find that like 1 to 2 drinks is something, many people can use CBD with, but monitor if you're feeling lightheaded, or something like that. Like that would be a sign of it feeling like too many variables in the mix, right? Like I personally, if I'm going to have like upwards of 3 drinks, or I often tell people, if you're gonna have more than 3, maybe skip it, pick it up in the morning as your next dose, because it can slow down how your body's processing alcohol. So the thought is like you have 3 drinks, then you take your drops, then you go to bed. Well, your body may still be processing that alcohol as you're trying to sleep, and your sleep may suffer from that. So we do kind of encourage people that, maybe journal or keep a quick note, like on nights that I have more than a couple drinks, how is my sleep? So everybody's different, but that's kind of my general guideline there.
I love that. Haley also wrote a really great blog post. If you guys want to check out our blog posts about this, about how to use CBD in lieu of alcohol in some situations. And I always say, if you're headed to a bachelorette party, maybe skip the CBD, but if it's just a couple drinks with friends, go for it. So kind of feel that out. I love your thought about keeping a note in a journal.
Absolutely. We did have a question in the chat box that was asking if CBD, if our products can be used, if men can use our products, basically. I answered her directly, but just wanted to let everyone know that anyone can use our products. We just tend to focus most of our education and science around issues that women typically experience, but that does not exclude men, and our dosage specialists here are super educated and can speak and do speak to anyone, any gender about our products. Do you guys want to elaborate on that if I butchered that answer?
Oh, not at all.
My-
not at all.
Yeah, my whole family takes it. My grandpa, everybody. So it's not just, not just one of us. It's funny because once someone like changes their life through a product where it's like, wow, I'm literally able to sleep for the first time. I literally wake up not feeling awful. Those are things that your family takes notice of and might ask you like, what's going on? Can I get some of that? So just know that we'll be happy to work with anybody that has questions like that.
Absolutely.
All right, we have an anonymous question. What is the recommendation for using CBD for PMS/PMDD, specifically mood-related issues? Do you still take CBD daily or only when you are experiencing these symptoms?
That is a fantastic question. Thank you for that. My first instinct would be that you may find fewer symptoms of that PMS and PMDD if you were to follow a regular daily and consistent routine. My advice would be to chat with a dosage specialist about this in particular, because for you and for other folks, I'm thinking of a couple gals in particular that I work with who experience similar issues, and they have a regular baseline CBD routine, but they also have some extra tools in their back pocket with the idea that CBD's job is to help control one of its jobs is to help control your FAIH levels, your stress levels. I mean, those are going to be higher during our cycle, and especially if you have these kinds of issues. So if we are to take CBD, I'm going off the rails here, regular daily and consistent routine to help in general, but you have other tools, higher times of stress, higher dosage. Some people during the week of their cycle, I work with a few gals who get the extra strength products. For example, the extra strength soft gels, it's a 30 count. I have one gal who she swaps out her 10 milligrams for her 25 just during the 5 days before and during her cycle, right in there. And then that one jar lasts her about 6 months because she's only taking 5 of those at a time. So there's a lot of different ways, talking to a dosage specialist can be magical because we can hook you up. So let us know. You've also got things like the rapid calming melts you could use during your cycle. We've got our mineral soak, our balancing bath bombs that are really great for helping balance your mood. Our rollers, there's so many different products that we have that might be able to help you personally, you specifically. But again, talking to a dosage specialist, we can kind of dial that in for you, help you.
All right, our last question, which I know we're right at time, but let's give Naina an answer here. They ask, which product is best to begin with? Which is such a question.
Great question. Haley, do you want to take this one? I'm happy to.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'd love to hear what you're going to say. I bet it's what I'm going to say too, so we'll see.
We're often quite aligned.
Yes.
So as far as like where to start, everyone is so different, but we now have 4 pre-curated boxes that will help get you started with a little bit more focus. Here's what I will say just preemptively before the rest of this. No matter where you start with your CBD journey, it has to take a little time to compound in your system, no matter what. Even if you don't start out with the exact right routine to get started, you're still putting CBD in your body. You're still giving your endocannabinoid system that support. So whether or not you notice, you are still nourishing your body in that way. And it does take time. So even if you take your CBD consistently, how you're supposed to via the instructions for a full week, and you still don't see benefits, that does not mean that on a molecular level, your body is not benefiting. So keep up with it and hop on the phone with a dosage specialist. All that to say, we have 4 new pre-curated boxes. We have the balance box, which is one of our OGs. That's going to come with the drops and soft gels, enough for 20 milligrams a day, just like we talked about, either one soft gel, one full dropper a day for 20 days. We have the relief box, which is those two products, and our relief balm. So that's a really great one to start out, especially if you have maybe an autoimmune disorder, maybe some like muscular aches and pains. A lot of our members with fibro really benefit from the relief balm. No exaggeration. It's a really good tool for your toolkit if that's something that you deal with. So that's our relief box. We also have our calm box, which again comes with the drops, soft gels, and those rapid calming melts. They're only a 15 count because again, they're not meant for daily use. They're meant for those pops of stress, those random bursts of stress to help calm us back down. So that's a really good one if you struggle with, feeling stress before a meeting, or if you just need help with general calm box. And then we've also got the sleep box. So if sleep is your issue, the sleep box is a great place to start because it has a 30 milligram a day dosage, enough for 2 soft gels and 1 full dropper. So something I want to mention about sleep before we wrap up. Some people that deal with sleep issues get really surprised when the Dosage team says, hey, instead of putting your CBD at nighttime, let's put it in the daytime to fix your sleep. They'll be like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But if you can control your stress levels during the day and feel more balanced throughout your work day, your school day, your mom day, if you can feel more balanced during the day, that usually naturally leads to an easier bedtime. So don't be surprised if your dosage specialist plays with that. But that's enough for you to try either a soft gel in the morning or at lunch and 1 at nighttime. We might move you to 2 soft gels both at bedtime. And if that's the case, then you can easily graduate to our extra strength products. But again, you're going to talk to a dosage specialist about that, right? Right.
All right, that was the last of our questions. I just did want to offer up for those that are still on the call, if you are a new to Equilibria person, you can use code social15 and get 15% off of your purchase. And that's for new folks only. So if you're new here and you want to try something out, use code social15. It doesn't expire anytime soon, so you're welcome to use that anytime. And I'll just let Haley and Autumn wrap up here.
I was going to say, if there's any questions like of how to get started, or you want to talk more, I work at this email part of the company a lot. So feel free to email us at this URL there or email address. We can help you get started. If you are already using it and you're like, you know what, I have some questions, I don't think it's working quite well for me, or whatever it is, book your call, because that's where we can really learn more about you. And I think of it almost like being a dietitian. We all know how to eat food, but it's a science, right? There's people out there that go to school and you learn all these things and have a whole process in mind. So it goes with CBD products. You're not just going to always know exactly what to do. So that's where we can help educate you, kind of help empower you so that you know how to think about this, for yourself too.
Absolutely. And even if you are experienced with CBD, even if you're coming to us as a first-time Equilibria user, but you've used CBD in the past, we're absolutely here to help, bounce ideas off of us. I can't think of a call that I've had where the person hasn't been like, wow, I learned something new today. That's really what our job is to help you learn something new about CBD. And if you just need, someone to talk to, someone to bounce ideas off of, someone to clarify anything for you, that is our job. We are here to fully support you in any way that we can. So give us a call, sign up for a call, send us an email. We're here to help.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.